Hi, Michelle. How are
Hey,
you?
Jody. Oh, it's good to see you.
It is so good to see you. It's been so many years. Former alumni right management consultants.
That's right. That's right. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Well, it's Dr. Tullier now, and for my folks that don't know who Dr. Tullier is, she's a career counselor, a founder and owner, principal of Tullier Consulting. That focuses on careers, career development, career transition, just putting yourself out there for your career. So thank you, Michelle. I know you charge for this type of advice, so we're going to hold on to every nugget that you share with us, because I don't think we've ever been in a situation like this before. And I lived through the recession. I think we worked together when folks were just being laid off left and right. But this is something incredible.
That's right. It really is. I mean, yeah, you and I were there seeing all kinds of job seekers in the recession of 2008. And the difference, of course, here is then you've got the anxiety of the whole medical and health aspect, and then you got the whole logistical challenge. And so, whole industries are imploding, and jobs are changing in the sense of how people do their work, with everything needing to shift to virtual, at least now. And of course, there are indications that may, in many ways, stay after we get to the so-called normal after this, the new normal. So yeah, really, really challenging times.
How are you doing? How's the family? How's everyone coping right now?
Yeah, good. Thanks for asking. We're doing well. Yeah, I just feel so grateful to be alive, healthy,
Right.
And my loved ones. I've had one friend who's had it, and luckily was mild and recovered. But I know so many people have had just really tragic
Yeah.
situations. So feeling very grateful.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the scary things. Not only is this pandemic affecting us from people transitioning and coping with grief now, but there's this whole new coping with grief when it comes to our jobs being misplaced. And I'm listening to friends that are going through job searches, that were searching for a job before this even happened. I'm listening to friends panic who are being furloughed, who are being laid off. It's such a scary moment. What do you tell people? How do you help them get over this anxiety?
Sure. So, like so many things in life, I tend to go maybe a little Buddhist and say, you're not going to get rid of the anxiety. You're not going to get rid of the suffering, the feelings of fear and the sadness. So it's a matter of sort of working through it. I love the work of Carol Dweck, who's all about the growth mindset. If you stay open and curious, I mean, it's based on your neuroscience, that that we could actually kind of change our neural pathways, that if we can, it's truly just getting up each day and putting one foot in front of the other, and being open to what may come to you if you keep doing that, and to sort of learning from the experience. So that's what I'm trying to help people do is kind of start with that mindset aspect. There's strategic things you can do. There's all kinds of things, how you can adjust your way of networking. There's some actual silver linings there. People tend to have maybe a little bit more time. I mean, I do realize there are people at home who are homeschooling kids, taking care of kids, doing their jobs from home, or a job search from home, dealing with relationship issues because you're all cooped up together. I get it. Not everybody's sitting around doing jigsaw puzzles, even though jigsaw puzzles are selling out like crazy. But still, there's just sort of this sense of, I think, again, a silver lining is, I think that because we're all in this together, when you have a crisis time like this, I am already finding that my clients are finding people receptive to networking with them in ways that they maybe wouldn't have before, because there's this sense of, okay, it's how I can help somebody else.
Right.
And I can find the time.
Right.
And I'm not commuting, and I'm not getting up and putting on, anything other than sweatpants and putting on all that stuff. All that stuff that's saving people time in some way. So.
Right. Is this a good time to job search? Are there out there?
Of course, it really depends on a person's situation. There are some people who already needed to be job searching because they'd started it, like you said, before the pandemic hit, before this recession has hit. There are others who've lost their jobs and need to be looking. And then there are others who were maybe thinking about looking or thinking about making a career change, but it was purely voluntary and there was no big hurry. For those, I say, for the ones where there's no rush, I say, you might want to shelter in place in your current job for a while and just take your time to figure out where you want to go next. And, you know, use this as sort of a gift of time to be able to make a good decision about where you want your career to go.
Yeah.
For those who do need to be looking, who are not employed or who are losing their job or, you know, or just have lost it, then you have to, right? It has to be a good time. Right. So I think instead of dwelling on, is it a good time or not? It's a matter of saying, this is what I have to do. How am I going to make it happen? And what it takes is just being hyper strategic, exceptionally strategic. And the one thing that I'm hoping everybody realizes is there are pain points that you can address. So there are, depending on what your field is, whether you're in business, whether you're in, anything else, your own business, there are growth opportunities because that might mean just taking your skill set and shifting it to a growing area. You know, there are companies that are all of a sudden booming. There are nonprofits that are hiring. There are pockets of growth, unfortunately, because of this crisis.
Right.
And then there are those that are hurting, but that could maybe use someone's skills, maybe on a contract basis, a temporary part-time basis, because they're laying off full-time, high salaried employees, but they still need work to get done. So it's just about being really strategic and figuring out where are those areas where you can add some value, because just plopping resumes out there or just watching the job postings to show up that's just not going to cut it.
It's not the way anymore, and I don't think it's the way now, especially.
Yeah, it wasn't before. Now especially isn't now.
Yeah. And so networking is something as simple as going on LinkedIn and reaching out to someone you don't know, like.
Well, it can be. I mean, ideally you connect the dots through people you do know so that you don't have to approach somebody cold. But again, that's where trying to put yourself in the perspective of the other person. So think about the person you want to connect with and what do you think their life looks like these days, day to day. So if it's somebody who's in some sort of work where they've had to completely shift in-person operations or whatever to online, they've probably really got their hands full. So they're only going to, they're going to be more inclined to network with you if you make it really, you show that you've got some really specific pointed questions, so it's not going to be like a long rambling thing. And maybe you can add some value to what they're doing. You have some knowledge you could share. But as I said earlier, I think people are because of the sense of we're all in it together, people want to try to help if they at all can. But you got to put yourself in their perspective and see what's their daily life like, and not just go in there kind of blindly, assuming they got all the time in the world to spend with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's a huge push, if you will, for people to apply for unemployment, and there's different there's different grants and other incomes that's out there for people who are not working right now. One thing I thought was so interesting, Michelle, is I was on a call and a business owner literally said on this call, I'm concerned that my people are making too much on unemployment and won't come back to work.
Oh, wow.
And I was on the call like, what? Did he just say that? Like,
yeah.
And that's a fear. It's almost like there's another fear for small businesses that people won't want to come back to work.
Yeah.
How do you stay inspired and motivated during this time while you're job searching or when it's time to go back?
Yeah. So, I would love it if all employers realized that year after year, study after study shows that work engagement is based on how you connect with the work environment, with the people at work, and not the paycheck. Of course, people are there either almost entirely or heavily because of a paycheck, because they need it.
Right.
But work engagement is about so much more. So, employers really shouldn't worry about that, because there's going to be that occasional person who wants to collect unemployment and sit at home, but most people are not. Most people are going to get bored. Most people want to work. I mean, it's in our DNA.
Yeah.
There's a Boston College professor, David Bluestein, who's a really well-respected theorist in the career development world. And he writes about and teaches about the psychology of working. Not just work, but working. Like, what does the experience of working do for us? And he talks about, of course, it's a means of survival. It's even a means of power, not big, CEO kind of power, but just it gives us some power. But it's also this means of social connection. And, we're human, we're social beings. And so it's that. And his third main premise is it's about self-determination. So it's like we are always kind of crafting and constructing the story of our life, right, our identity, and it's all entwined with our work. Yeah. And so, I think we may at times, all of us complain about work, say, if we won the lottery, maybe we wouldn't work. But the reality is we all want to do some kind of work.
Yeah. People want to be productive.
Yeah.
People want to be productive and contribute.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Is there, I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but just want to wrap it around. Is there a silver lining to all that we're experiencing right now?
Well, again, speaking from my perspective around work and careers, I'd say the silver lining is, I think it is forcing people to pause and rethink what they do, how they do it, how much they do it, how their work is balanced with the rest of their life. So no matter what somebody's situation is, whether they're in panic mode because they desperately need a job, or they're in, have the luxury of being employed in a secure way and are just maybe working a little differently, working from home, working different hours. I think that's the silver lining, is that we have this chance to reconnect with what work means to us, how it relates to the other parts of our life, and if we want to make any changes. I think that it's easy for people in a situation like this to feel they have no control over crafting a work life that they want. And I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of factors that are out of our control at this time. I mean, we're at the mercy of this tiny little virus cell, and it's affecting our lives and our work lives. Right. But there's a whole lot we can control. And so it's a chance to sit back and reflect on how we want to take that control.
I love that. A good time to reset. I love that. And that's what this is all about. Like, that's, to me, that's what this is all about. Taking this time and really reflecting. I was speaking with Martin, who owns a company. He's an entrepreneur, and he was like, he had to reset for his company. Like, he had to take a step back and identify his brand and take this time to reset. So
that's right.
Yeah, self-inventory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Michelle, thank you so much for your words. Appreciate you taking the time. People can go to the website, and I'll of course include it in the credits, but it's tullierconsulting.com to get more information. And you do one-on-one Zoom meetings with folks that are transitioning, correct?
I do. Even before this, I was already seeing people all across the country on Zoom, so it works out great. Yeah, happy to work with anybody who could use some help.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michelle. I definitely appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Judy, and thanks for doing this.
family.